Holy ball of chain. Welcome to the Manwich Show. Welcome to the Manwich Show. January 6th hat on my head today. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? What's going on this very day? The anniversary, the 4th year anniversary of January 6th. And the Capitol attacked. Well, what should we say? What should we do? Should we just get right into it? Let's just get right into it.
Hiroshima, Nagasaki, the heat death of the universe. These are some of the deadliest days in history. But none of them compare to the most deadliest day. January 6, 2021. Coming soon in the most epic movie event since Robot Jocks, Left Behind, or maybe even Son of the Mask. The Babylon Bee investigates the darkest day in the history of democracy.
Where were you on January 6th?
In January?
I don't remember.
Storming the Capitol, baby. No.
Scary stuff like this happened.
Okay.
So on a scale of 9 to 10, how terrifying was what you just witnessed?
3? I don't know.
We go on location. We bring you 100% true facts.
Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was murdered over 7 times.
We ask the tough questions.
Is it true that you have a Jewish space laser? This is incredibly boring. Could you explain it to me using Marvel characters?
We even go face to face with the scariest criminals you'll ever meet.
Are you the dangerous insurrection man?
Who's asking?
We're in. Into the lair of darkness I go. Darkness because he's a Republican, not because he's,
Shame!
That was racist. Just kidding.
Shame!
This fall, the only way you can save democracy is by becoming a member of the Babylon Bee, so you can see January 6th, the most deadliest day.
Where were you on January 6th?
I was in that mob that was going into the Capitol.
You're going to jail, lady. You're going to jail. Whoa, whoa. Tearing it up. That's wild. USA, USA.
For 4 years,
And they're scratching up.
the pro-Trump
They're messing with the volume here, scratching it up.
crowd fought with the police of reversing America's election outcome. We watched as the standoff continued for at least an hour. Tear gas canisters were fired from the very stage on which Joe Biden will be inaugurated. But for Capitol Hill police officers, this was a losing battle as they stormed the building.
I swear to CNN, and they just said these guys.
Through broken windows and doors they had forced open. And for a few heady moments.
Look, all I gotta say is somebody's going to jail. Man, you can't seriously tell me that there's no. I'm gonna tell you right now, me personally, I am not gonna do that. Cause you know what's gonna happen? And that's all I need is another one of these.
When dealing with powerful criminal elements, one can never be too well prepared.
Holy felony!
And I don't need any more than the ones I do have.
Moments they felt they had won a precious victory.
Because they work for us. They don't get to steal it from us. They don't get to tell us we didn't see what we saw.
The government did this to us. We were normal, good, law-abiding citizens, and you guys did this to us. We want our country back. We are protesting for our freedom right now. That's the difference.
What's the purpose of storming Congress?
How do I know that? This is our country. This is our house. That's it. This is our house. This is our country. This is our country.
Entered the Speaker's office itself. Although Nancy Pelosi and other lawmakers had already...
Here you go, brother!
As we filmed, protesters tore down Pelosi's nameplate.
Dang. It was wild. They're out there.
Tomorrow marks 4 years since the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol, a day that shook this city and the nation. A mob of then-President Trump's supporters smashed their way into the Capitol, falsely believing that the 2020 election had been stolen. A bipartisan Senate report later found that at least 7 people lost their lives in connection with the attack. Now, years later, the legacy of that day and what it means to our country remains a bitter partisan divide. Joining us to discuss the January 6th attack are 2 journalists who were there that day and have been covering its impacts ever since. Tom Bowman is NPR's Pentagon correspondent, and producer and reporter Lauren Hodges is with All Things Considered. Welcome to you both.
These better not be any liberals.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
You were both there 4 years ago, and I just wonder now, 4 years later, how that day stands out to you.
Well, I remember covering Trump's speech. I was there above the Washington Monument, that area, in the sea of people. And then I walked down and started interviewing people, and everyone was respectful. And then I started walking down Pennsylvania Ave, and I tell people it was a festive atmosphere, which sounds strange. You know, people were laughing, joking, waving to each other.
Eating hot dogs.
And then as I got closer to the Capitol, it was like a storm was coming in. There was this sense of anger and bad energy.
And hit the fan.
At that moment, Lauren called me. She was up in the Capitol in the middle of a mob.
I was there with our then extremism correspondent, Hannah Lamb, and pretty much as soon as we got to the Capitol grounds, there was kind of this hunger for violence. People were really ready to start something.
You could sense that.
Oh, they were speaking about it. They had an eagerness to see some violence or participate in it.
In the last 4 years, we have been going through this process of trying to
Sounds liberal.
define and redefine what that day was all about. And there's been an enormous amount of revisionist history going on about that. What is your sense of what is driving that?
Initially, everyone agreed, Democrats, Republicans, everyone, this was a bad thing. This was an insurrection. And some Republican leaders put the blame on Donald Trump, said, you instigated this. You started this insurrection. And almost immediately, the revision started. Well, they weren't Trump supporters. It was
Antifa.
It was Antifa, Black Lives Matter. You know, FBI agents were out there instigating the crowd. That was when the narrative started to
CIA.
change. And it really started with Fox News.
Well, and then the FBI element, once the FBI actually started making arrests, that was when it became unavoidable who was there. It was Trump supporters. So then a new narrative shift started where it was, well, these were Trump supporters, but they were patriots, and they didn't do anything wrong. They were just caught up in a crowd. It was a bunch of good people having a bad day.
And again, Donald Trump still calls them patriots, and it looks like he's going to pardon quite a few of them. Those who didn't get involved in violence, they're going to get pardoned.
This few bad apples idea percolates a lot in the podcast that you guys did called a good guy. Can you tell us about the man at the center of that?
Well, his name is Josh Abate. He was a Marine and still is a Marine. He was a sergeant in the Marine Corps, third-generation Marine, and he grew up about an hour west of Washington.
And he believed that the election had been stolen. He was like many of those.
Correct,
there.
he did. Yeah. He always watched Fox News and far-right websites. So that's where he got his information from.
And he was among those that entered the Capitol that day. I guess it's not really clear if he engaged in violence or not. He says he did not. How does the Marine Corps reckon with not just Abate, but several other Marines who showed up that day?
1,500 people were arrested in connection with the insurrection or riot, whatever you want to call it. About 200 military members, mostly veterans, were there, and a large number of them were Marines, right? So
a disproportionate number.
Because they are the smallest of the fighting forces. Right. But here's the thing, William. The military, they don't know if there's an extremism problem in the military because they're not collecting data like they would be for sexual harassment or sexual assault. Only this past year did they put out guidelines.
Come on, extremists. That is just being passionate. That's being patriotic. That is being patriotic. You got that? Although you should not. I mean, come on now. Who's gonna go? You're gonna walk into the White House next and start tearing stuff. You don't want to do these things. But these are people that are patriotic of our country. They believe in the right to life, freedom, liberty, and all the other stuff. All right, that I just mingled and mushed all up together. But either way, these are people that they believe in the Constitution. They believe in the Constitution of this nation, and they want the best for America. So to label one an extremist because of their patriotism towards their country is a stretch. It's a stretch on this man's behalf. Like he should reevaluate his evaluation of these men and women that were there that day.
What's prohibitive behavior? Overthrowing the government is one of them. And now all the services are supposed to collect data to make sure that they do have a handle on whether there's a problem or not.
There goes Big Brother.
I think a lot of that's going to be brushed aside under the next administration.
And the reason we think that is because there's a lot of verbal condemnation right away, like this, zero tolerance. We condemn this. These are not good Marines. But then when it came to action, when it came time for them to enact real consequences, nothing really happened. So the words didn't really match the actions when it came to how they were reconciling with so many of their people out there that day.
Yeah, what's interesting about our podcast is there were 3 Marines, Josh and his 2 buddies from Quantico, the Marine base down there. So they were all charged with misdemeanors. They all did community service, 279 hours of community service, 1 hour for every Marine casualty in the Civil War, which is fascinating to me. But in all 3 cases, after they were convicted, the Marine Corps panels decided to keep them in the Marine Corps.
Yeah,
and Josh, to this day, is still a Marine. And the Secretary of the Navy, Carlos Del Toro, has yet to decide whether to keep him in or not. The other 2, one was kicked out by a general at Camp Pendleton, California. The other ran out as enlistment. So Josh, of the 3, he's the only one left.
Really a tremendous piece of reporting. The podcast is called A Good Guy. Tom Bowman, Lauren Hodges, thank you so much.
A good guy and a bad podcast. There you go. Consider it legitimate political discourse.
Today, fencing and barriers around the U.S. Capitol, 4 years after a mob of pro-Trump forces attacked it, stopping the counting of Electoral College votes and delaying the certification of Joe Biden's victory.
The eyes of the world will be on the United States Capitol to see what happens here on January 6th.
This time, a clear perimeter established around the Capitol complex. Police shutting down multiple streets for tomorrow's midday proceedings, where Vice President Kamala Harris will oversee the counting of President-elect Trump's 312 Electoral College votes and her own defeat. Unlike in 2021, when prominent Republicans objected to the results, tomorrow
there will be no election denying on the part of the Democratic caucus.
Well, this is very exciting.
This weekend, Trump on stage at Mar-a-Lago still admonishing his former Vice President Mike Pence for not rejecting Electoral College votes 4 years ago.
Those votes could have been sent back as they should have been able to.
Trump speaking at an event Saturday night that included some of his most prominent backers in those efforts to overturn the 2020 election. Those allies.
And if that election had been overturned, right now we wouldn't be looking at, there's a good chance that is, that we wouldn't have been looking at a war between Russia and Ukraine and America being drawn into it in regards to this proxy war that's going on there. So I agree with Trump right there that Pence, that there are so many votes that were brought in. Let's say you have a county and there's 100,000 people, there would be 150,000 votes. All I gotta say is this: 2,000 mules. Watch it, 2,000 mules.
Who also spoke included Jeffrey Clark, John Eastman, Rudy Giuliani, Peter Navarro, and Michael Flynn. Trump giving each man a shout out from the stage.
What they've done to Rudy, but Rudy's going to come out on top. It's just a question of time.
Vaughn Hillyard is joining us now. And Vaughn, we talked about the weather heading to Washington. So what if that snowstorm keeps some members of Congress from making it to the chamber tomorrow to vote?
Right, Hallie, there is a very minimal chance of impact on this process unless half of Congress is not able to make it in. And even then, there is no apparent widespread plan among Democrats to object to these results. Hallie?
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.
Will do. Don't have to worry about copyrights with them.
This morning marks 4 years since the January 6th attack on the Capitol.
In just 2 weeks, President-elect Donald Trump's inauguration will take place. On January 6, 2021, Trump urged supporters to head to the Capitol to protest Congress's certification of President Joe Biden's victory. Pro-Trump rioters overran Capitol barriers. The Capitol was placed on a lockdown as rioters breached the building. At least 2,000 people made it inside the Capitol building. 5 people died during or after the attack, including 4 protesters and 1 police officer. Around 140 officers were hurt during the riot. And now, 4 years later, almost 1,600 people facing charges in relation to the attack. This coming as Trump is promising pardons to some of his defendants during his, quote, first hours in office.
Wow. And that's it for the videos. Because I could just be playing videos left and right over and over again. There's tons of these. So there you have it. January 6th revisited. Let me know your comments, your opinions, your likes, your dislikes, and I'll do a follow-up on tomorrow's episode. Lord willing, I'll do a follow-up. I seen some comments left yesterday and into today. I'm not going to get to those today. I'm not going to get to them right now because I'm going to wrap this up. This is part of my live that I recreate into videos and post on Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, and various other platforms that the Manwich Show is on. Having said that, you all have a good night. Stay safe. Don't go out there rioting and tearing stuff up. Leave it be. And instead, take your battle to the voting booths. With that, good night, everybody. And God bless America.
So goodbye for us. You have to say it, baby.